Good
Morning,
morning,
Gamez.
boys.
Good morning. Good morning.
How are you doing today? Shows the oats.
I don't got my oats ready. It takes like 2 hours. Like my oats overnight. I just put them in milk.
Nice.
Love
Yeah.
it.
All right, well, let's get started with the young man, the myth, the legend, Ricardo Gamez Jr.
Let's go.
Why don't you go ahead and just tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
God, I feel so honored to be on here. Now, well, my name is Ricardo Gamez, and I own a Subway franchise, and I'm also opening my own Mexican restaurant. So we are starting construction on it literally right now. So we just got permits approved a few days ago, and I am excited to get that opened and get our food shared with the world. So that's kind of what my main focus is for myself.
That's awesome. That's very exciting. Ricky, can you tell us, Ricardo, can you tell us a little bit about what is it that made you start into, first off, to become a Subway franchise owner? Like, what is it that got your attention to do something like that?
It's not, I didn't really want to get into it. I'm not going to lie. Like, I didn't want to get into it, but the opportunity was kind of just more there. So what happened is that we purchased a building with a Subway franchise in it, and I wanted to open like a Garcia style or like it's like a Mexican store with a restaurant in the back where they kind of sell tacos out of. That's kind of, what it's like in Felsmar. They have a lot of stores like that, Mexican store with like food in the back. And that's kind of what I wanted to do. And the Subway was in there in half of the building. And the owner had 3 years left on his lease, and we were not going to renew it for him. Like we didn't really want the subway there anymore at the time. So the owner of the subway at the time, he gave us a really good deal on it, and he showed us the numbers, and then we were just like, you know what? We will buy this subway for, X price. And on the other side, then we'll just open a Mexican restaurant instead of doing like a store slash Mexican restaurant. So now it's going to be a Subway on one side and then the Mexican restaurant on the other, similar to Chipotle. But that's why we purchased the Subway, more just because it was there and then the opportunity was there.
Opportunity presented itself. That's awesome. I'm
Right.
really excited for, I haven't had the chance to go out to the subway. Adrian, I know you have. But I really like what you're doing on social media where you're presenting yourself the way you guys run things, right? In the kitchen, things like that. It's very clean, very presentable. And I think that, I mean, that's huge. That attracts a lot of people to be coming into your store. And then the Friday, where you do the Friday giveaway, I think that's amazing too, man. To be doing today.
Yeah, today. Hey.
Oh, that's awesome, man. Like you're doing stuff like that online. I think it goes such a long way. Another thing is your Mexican uh grill, right? It's I think it's I mean we can't wait. My brother and I plan to go out there definitely for the grand open. You said it's a weekend, right?
Yeah, so we're planning the grand opening for it to be a Saturday. We don't have an exact date yet, so I can't really say what date, but it's definitely going to be a Saturday. And I want to have a really big grand opening, and just like really make it an awesome, special, fun day.
That's
So,
awesome.
oh yeah.
I
So
wanted to ask you one thing. You said that the Subway it presented an opportunity. Um, and then that's why you guys went ahead and pulled the trigger to purchase it. Well, I think for myself included and a lot of people watching, there's always a lot of opportunities presented, but not many people willing to take action. So what's the mentality that you have that separates you from the average person that you actually stepped on the gas and pulled the trigger when an opportunity did present itself? What made you do that?
well, honestly, like what I like to spend money on is not really like fancy shirts or a lot of like fancy things. Like what I spend my money on is a lot of like business stuff. I like to buy educational courses. I like to buy just stuff that helps me helps me improve my life. So when this opportunity presented itself, me in my mentality, I already had money stored away and I only wanted to buy something that would help me grow and help me, I guess, make more money. It's like an investment into myself. So the mentality for me is, I guess, always wanting to invest into myself, invest into my future, and invest into something that's going to make me more money. So instead of, me buying, fancy clothes, just fancy things, or buying, TVs or Apple Watches, whatever it is, instead of buying all that stuff, I stored away a lot of money, and I put half down for the Subway. But the mentality is to always invest into yourself and believe in yourself, and that's why I purchased that Subway.
I love
And
that. That's my favorite word, invest. It's crucial, not only in business, yourself, everything in general, just all around. Adrian, you were gonna say something?
I just wanted to get a glimpse of your future. You mentioned that you invest for your future. What is Ricky's future? What does that look like to you?
Oh, right now I want to own a lot of like restaurants. Not really like an actual restaurant. I would say more fast casual type restaurants. A lot of obviously Lumbre Mexican Grills, basically the first like branded that's my type of restaurant. But I definitely want to own a lot of like fast casual type restaurants, and I really like the whole concept, just like pick up and go, right? Life is getting faster. You want faster Wi-Fi. You want everything fast, right? So you want faster coffee at Starbucks, right? You want the drive-through to be fast. You got pick up and go. I think life in general, like a lot of people just want a fast, like lifestyle. That people have to go to work. People don't have much time. Time is very valuable. So I really like the fast casual I concept. So Chipotle, I like Dutch Bros coffee. I like that. It's like a drive-through only. Seven Brew coffee, drive-through only coffee. It's very fast paced, and that kind of concept I really really like, just because I think everyone's moving at a fast pace in the world right now. So that's kind of why I lean towards the fast casual type of restaurant or type of food service.
I think the fact that you're bringing that up and you're acknowledging that in that specific field or business that you're trying to enter, it's very interesting. And not many businesses do that. I feel like a lot of people they jump to a vast majority, but saying, "Hey, everybody wants things quick, so let me make a menu that's easy to make, right? That can for the long term, a lot of people can come in, get their food, leave, right? Because many people do that, right? Like you said, coffees, Dutch Bros, things like that. Something else I do want to add, bro, I feel like that I've seen you do a lot is you're very intentional when it comes to studying your craft. I'll give you an example. When you went out to visit my brother, I'm sure you went out to see like, is there any restaurants out here that I could try so that way I can get inspo, and then better my craft. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Do you feel like you do that in multiple areas or?
I keep my eyes open a lot. My phone is full of photos, pictures of like just inspiration that I've seen. Um, we're going down to Miami this weekend just to go look at this Mexican restaurant that my friend says is very similar to like Chipotle style, fast paced, but they have good food. I like to try food. I like to go see the design and the concept of other restaurants. Uh, Basically just see what these other fast casual restaurants are doing, and um I think I just like get a lot of inspiration and ideas from these other places, especially just like seeing how they, the systems behind restaurants, because it's like so important to have systems in place to make everything run smoothly, and that to me is probably the most important part. So try, running Subway without me being there, and I was just on like vacation for like 10 days, and the system that we have in place, so I don't have to be there really, really works, but I had to like learn that. That's something that I had to learn. But I learned it by seeing other people do it, going to other restaurants and asking the owners, hey, how do you have three restaurants there? How are you doing that? I met a guy who actually owns, I think it's 13 Dunkin' Donuts, but he lives in Greece, right? So like whenever I asked him, hey man, like how do you do it? How do you have 13 Dunkin' Donuts and live in a whole nother country. And he kind of just broke down the system for me of him having, basically the baseline, the employees that actually make the food or the specialist. And then he has M1, which is managers that manage those employees in each store. And then he has M2, which is a manager that manages the managers. And then he has a M3. So that's like the final guy that's right below the owner of these Dunkin' Donuts. So he has like a whole pyramid going here. And him like kind of showing me and just kind of teaching me that kind of stuff really is helping me in my own systems and trying to build that out so I don't have to work in the restaurants and I can kind of work more on the restaurant.
That's
Well, that's
amazing.
incredible. I think a lot of people don't have the mindset to create systems in place. So, that's really cool that you have like the whole idea. While you're speaking, I'm listening to you and I'm like the intentionality that you have behind your businesses, behind your craft, behind the legacy that you're creating. It goes to speak for all the success that you've already, had or are experiencing. So I think that a lot of people have a victim mentality, and they say there's never opportunities for me. There's never things going on with me. Oh, of course, I would want to own a Subway or a restaurant. And clearly, me knowing you firsthand, I know that it's not luck. It's more so intentionality, experience, work ethic, and actually going after it. So, can you just speak about somebody that has that mentality? Why you're not somebody who got lucky and actually had the work ethic behind it. Like a lot of the work is shown behind the screen, and I want to give you a chance to present the work ethic on the screen for people watching.
Okay, so the the work that goes into it, I don't normally show it. Like you don't like I don't on my social media, on my personal page, I don't really show it. I just do the work that is necessary to actually complete this. And this has been a 2-year process so far. Did it have to be this long? No, but this is me trying to figure it out. Um, for these 2 years. So far behind the scenes, what we have done is number one, we had to design the whole restaurant so it could be the most efficient as possible. And to give you an example of this, we are gonna sell aguas frescas. We want to sell like fresh orange juice, freshly squeezed from the oranges. Like we're gonna have a machine that actually has oranges up top and squeezes the juice out of them in real time. And just to give you an example, is that we were gonna have this machine originally in the front line where people could actually squeeze it themselves because I thought that would be a really cool concept. But what we did not think about was that people could just get free refills, and oranges are expensive, right? So we had to kind of sell it by the cut. So instead of now, like that little detail of people could get free refills, and then that would just bring our food costs so high, we wouldn't make profit on it if people kept refilling it with fresh oranges. So now we had to move that machine to the behind the scenes where only the employees could actually do the orange juice. You can still see it in front of you, but that's just like a little detail of, hey, like we have to adjust this, we have to fix this. And it was my first time building out this type of restaurant. So talking to other people that have already kind of done it really helped me out with that. So there's like so many details that go into where you want the machines to be, how you want this to all be planned out. And that took such a long time for us to like kind of plan it out since it was our very first time making a restaurant like Chipotle or that kind of concept without really anyone in my corner that kind of has something similar. If I had someone in my corner that had something similar, it would be a lot easier. So yeah, but that that alone is just that alone is kind of just part of what made this entire process difficult. So planning out the restaurant, um, getting everything approved by the city and the county and the state because now we don't have a bathroom on that side, so we have to share bathrooms with Subway because both bathrooms are in the Subway side. So we have to get that approved, and that was like a whole like month process in itself. All this stuff, all these like little loopholes that we have to get through because the building is actually not designed to be a restaurant. It was actually like office space at the time. So we're actually converting it into a restaurant, which is pretty difficult. And Not only so that was kind of like the planning side of stuff, and then we actually had to plan the recipes. I have to measure everything because we're making our own seasonings. I have to write down all the recipes. I have to make videos on how to prep the food for our future employees so they know how to make our food. And there's just so much to go on in the restaurant business. It's like, and I think I just told you maybe a fraction of what we've done so far. But
know it.
making videos, advertising, custom, shirts, custom hats, custom aprons, all that stuff has to be done. And then we have to make a menu, a website, DoorDash, Uber Eats, Grubhub, all that has to be all connected and open for the grand opening day. So all that stuff kind of has to be organized in that way. And it's a lot of stuff, but we're doing it. We're doing
Ton
it. It's going
ton
well.
of, ton of stuff. I think the very first point of the oranges, I think that a lot of people I feel like never really think about that in a restaurant. And everything that you're explaining comes to show that it's hard work. It's not just, hey, opening a restaurant, let's do it. No, it's like you said, finding the different techniques that are gonna, of course, save you, net you money. That way obviously the goal is to become profitable, of course. Um, but changing like the station of the oranges, I think that's interesting too, because I feel like every little thing it can, it can show down the road.
Oh yeah, so like just that little example though is like, hey, we move this machine. If we move it, now we have to add an electrical outlet next to that machine. Hey, if we move that machine, now we need ice near that machine because now the employees are not going to be pouring the juice or and not just orange juice, but like we have aguas frescas too. Like we need ice for those drinks. So now we need to put something to store ice around that area. So like there's so many details that went into it, and that's kind of what took me so long. It shouldn't be a 2 year process, to be honest. It's just me not knowing like all these little details. And it's like, hey, like for example, where are you gonna store cups? Like you want people just to be able to grab cups and pour juice, or are employees gonna have to grab the cups? Okay, and now where are those cups gonna be stored? Okay, you want them underneath the countertop? Yes. Okay, so now we have to kind of design the countertop so it kind of fits what you're looking for. And then we did a custom table to hold all the hot food, to hold the cold food. That's like a custom table with like a 13 inch, what is it, countertop behind it. So it's
Mhm.
like a stainless steel, so you could drag burritos without needing to have anything to hold the burrito tortilla in place. So it's like a really long cutting board thing where you could just drag the burrito tortilla so you don't need like a plate or anything. So we don't have to wash those dishes. So it's like so many random details that like we had to think about, but eventually we got it together. So
That's incredible, man. I think like not many people think about the hard work that goes behind it, and you could definitely tell. To me, honestly, the most satisfying and the most beautiful thing in this whole process is not really like the profitable business you're having, but also like the experience and the learning that you are, getting out of it. Like because of your experiences, well, now you know how to open up a restaurant more than anyone else who never has, right? So that learning experience, no one will ever take away from you. And I think it's very powerful to realize that sometimes we can just do things for the experience. And in this case, sometimes we can also do it for experience and such a massive business that's going to come out of Lumbre and the Subway. So I wanted to flip the script now. So that was kind of the example given to people that think they're not in a lucky position. I think what you shared was beautifully shared. So now people can actually take action into opportunities presented for them. But now, if we flip the script to people that are already in the business, already in the food and beverage industry, they might be entering a food and beverage industry or something along those lines. If you can kind of talk a little bit about what's difficult to enter, like what advice do you wish someone would have given you when you first started? What could someone expect going into a restaurant if they're looking to get into one? Um, very, very, very far away from Vero Beach because there's no competition for Lumbre. That's the one of a kind right there. But just in general, if you could give some kind of feedback or just some mentality there for somebody, I don't know if you even feel comfortable going into like the cost of what running a restaurant looks like or what that kind of looked like for you, or just what people should expect if they plan to enter a business of the food and beverage industry.
so we're not open yet. So kind of me going based off numbers, like food costs and all that stuff, would be kind of coming from Subway because, like I said, we're not open yet for Lumbre. So, excuse me. So we're not open yet for Lumbre. So food costs and running a bigger operation like Lumbre, I don't genuinely know yet. So I can't really give advice on, running and scheduling that many people or, cooking the food or anything like that because we're not open yet. I mean, that's just the truth.
Right.
But speaking from Subway side, I would say like creating a system, you must have a system in place where you could where you can have time to work on your business instead of in your business. And I think that for a lot of people, you have to achieve that somehow because if you just have a business and you work in it, I believe that you just buy yourself a job. And I feel like that's not a business in my head, right? So I think your goal or anyone's goal that's in the restaurant industry is to create a system and have checklists in place, have a good manager in place, assistant manager, and then your specialist or your employees in place, and each one has a very specific roles and responsibilities, and each person has a checklist that they have to do on the daily, on the weekly, and on the monthly. And we actually, what I do is we used to have a binder checklist that was laminated, and we would have to, write down or check off once you did a task. So, hey, I cleaned the windows, check off. I prepped the veggies, you check it off. And instead of that, now it's just an electronic checklist that we put in the middle of Subway. It's an electronic checklist on the wall where you could just, once the task is done, you just simply tap it and then boom, the task is done for the day. And with the electronic checklist, it's just so much easier because you don't have to like print out papers or re-laminate if it gets dirty, right? You can literally just type in a new task very easily or delete tasks very easily. So having a system in place, I think is just so important for anyone in the restaurant industry to make sure everything's running smoothly and to make sure your recipes taste the same. Having a recipe book, having checklists, having systems in place to me is very, very important to keep your restaurant running the same without you having to be there.
Man, before I kick it over to you, I just want to say that is freaking powerful, and that's not just for the restaurant industry. That's for any industry. If you don't have a system in place for you to work on the business, you're just buying a job. We definitely have the same mentality there. So that was a bar. I hope everybody caught that. But I'll kick it over to you, Alan.
I think, like you said, it does tie to every business, right? He has a great point of building systems, checklists, standard of operations to follow.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of people, I mean, it's great, right? If they're managing it day to day, it's what they love to do, this and that. But I think if you're trying to build what I see like Ricky's trying to build, it requires your time in the most important part of it all, right? Whether it's, gathering investors or anything in that matter, right, to the bigger picture to grow the business. I feel like that's where most of business owners' time should be, right? Getting more clients and any field in general, right? Just moving the needle, progressing, growing the business rather than actually doing the day-to-day operations. And I think it's very interesting that you say that, bro, because I think it's huge. It's extremely, extremely important. So, um,
Yeah, so I think what a lot of people get wrong is whenever they want to start a business or whenever they're thinking about getting into business and they say, "Man, but I just don't like to do that. Like I don't like to paint or I don't like to put tile down." Like if you genuinely think about it, you're not gonna be if you do it right, if you do create these systems in place, it shouldn't after a few years or of you getting your own hands dirty, you should be able to, if you're running the business properly and if you have enough clientele, the whole part of business is to be able to delegate all these tasks so other people do the work and you could focus on actually building up the business. You could focus on the more important tasks, getting more clients, the advertising, or whatever you feel is more important that you need to focus on is what you should be doing as I think the owner. And a lot of people think that, if you go into tile, that you're gonna you have to do tile for the rest of your life. I don't believe that. I believe that you will end up delegating the task to someone that's gonna put down the tile for you while you're busy getting more jobs, right? I think at the end of the day, your job will be like sales,
Mhm.
right? Instead of painting the wall, you hire a painter, and your job will apply to get more houses to paint. Like everyone thinks that they're gonna be doing the job, or if you start a restaurant, you're gonna be making the burritos. No, like I don't see the owner of Chipotle, making burritos, right? So that's just kind of my thought process behind it.
Yeah, I think it's great that you bring up the tile where you don't have to be laying tile for the rest of your life. But here's the thing that I feel like many people, they don't want to go through that. It's like they want to jump to the very top without actually getting themselves into the day-to-day operations. And in your scenario, I know that you've been like, because you've worked at other places, right? Where you were the one doing the burritos, like making burritos and sandwiches, and you're not afraid of that work, right? Because you're setting an example. You're the leader for this organization that you're building, right? So I think that can you tell us a little bit of how, like, what is it that you did in the beginning to then be able to get to where you're at now? Because of course you had to learn how to make sandwiches and and create ideas of, hey, let's add this to make it taste a bit better. Or I know you had that where you did like a cookie, like a burrito. You know
Foot
what
long
I'm talking about,
cookie.
right?
It's
So
talking about the foot long cookie that you
yeah,
said.
yeah. So I guess my question is, where did you start from, like making sandwiches, to then lead you to start getting creative with the product or with what you're offering?
So with with Subway, it's a bit different. So when we first purchased a Subway, actually before I purchased a Subway, I worked in it, and the owner kind of threw me in as the manager. Like I literally told him, I was like, hey, since I'm purchasing the Subway, can I just work there? Because I want to learn this whole system. And at the time, the manager just fired or just quit. So the owner just threw me in. I had literally no experience. I swear, this was like day one. I was manager of the Subway, and I had no idea what to do. So, I was day one. I was
Ricky,
manager.
before you keep going with the question, I just want people at home watching to think about this. How many of you would have asked the owner, "Can I work at the Subway?" People think, "Oh, well, how lucky. The manager just quit. How lucky for Ricky." But how many of you would have actually texted the owner and said, "Hey, I'm buying this Subway. Can I please work at the Subway so that I can learn?" How many people would have been like, "I'm not working at a Subway"? How many? Just think about that if you're at home. Just really think about that question. What would you have done? Sorry, keep going, Ricky. Kudos to
Okay,
you,
Yeah,
man.
glad you
and
brought that
on
up.
top.
Can't overlook that. I think
Can't
that's huge.
overlook it.
I'm really glad you said that.
And the funny part is that, so at the time I was working at, just real quick, and I'll kind of go back into it, but I was working at 7-Eleven. I was making like $16 an hour. And then I knew we were going to open the taco place, which was my goal. So I dropped down to learn how to make tacos, burritos. And I went to work at a taco restaurant similar to like Chipotle. It's called Chronic Tacos. My pay went down from $16 an hour. It went down to like 14. All right. And then as soon as I asked the owner if I could work at Subway, he's like, "Oh, I'm only gonna pay you 12 though." And I was like, "That's totally fine." Like I don't, because I at the time I'm not really focused on money. I'm focused on learning because I'm so young. So I'm trying to focus on learning skills that are gonna help me in the future. So that was like money. If you see like my rate of money, it was just going down. My dad was like, "Bro, stop changing jobs. You're gonna get to zero." But so I kept changing jobs, and then so finally they threw me into the manager role. I was making like $12 an hour, from 16. So it was definitely a pay cut, but I didn't care. And so they threw me in there, and they had someone named Dana. She was helping me out, like just learn how to make sandwiches and basically mopping the floor, sandwiches, sweeping, prepping, just prepping all the food. And what so I learned kind of all the front end stuff, just the basic spec the basic like sandwich artist stuff, making sandwiches. And I on my own time I had to ask like, hey, like how do I like look at the back end? How do I look at the numbers? Like how do I look at basically all the back end stuff that goes in a restaurant. Like if something breaks, who do you guys call? Ice needs to be cleaned, and mold could form in ice in the ice maker. So you gotta like find someone to clean it or clean it yourself. And all these like little things like who do we get CO2 from? CO2. Um, who do we get for the pest control? All that kind of stuff like was learned on after my shift. Like I had to like spend extra time to learn that. So all that back end stuff to like run a subway was learned in my spare time when I talked to the owner. I was like, hey, how do I do this? How do I do this? But and then for so that's kind of how I got thrown into Subway, and I just kind of started learning the process that way. I was really hands on. And then as for like the full on cookie Adan, what you said, that I don't really control what we sell at Subway actually. It's Subway is a big franchise, so we have to sell what they tell us to sell. But that because I went through the franchise and they have some creative recipes and stuff like that, that for me now for Lumbre Mexican Grill, I now have some creative ideas that I want to do. Like we want to do like these like loaded chips. We're gonna cut the chip bags like long ways, and I want to be able to throw like steak on top of the chips, and have like loaded nachos with like melted cheese and all that stuff. So that's definitely helped me on the creative end for Lumbre. But I don't get to decide what we sell at Subway.
Gotcha. I love that you said that you took a pay cut, but for the bigger picture, for the skills that you learned. And now, I mean, this is clearly showing you've you've gone through that, you've learned some creativity, and now you're going to be applying that to your future business, to Lumbre Grill.
Insane,
I
man.
feel like
Not
it's so
insane.
powerful. It is so powerful because a lot of the times people want to jump to $20 an hour. No, I'm not paying, I'm not working for 12, $13 an hour. Finding what you like, finding what you want to build, get in that industry, learn the front end, like you said, learn the basics, learn how it's ran. And if your mind is in the right spot, exactly where your mind was, like you're about to open a Lumbre Grill. Like that's absolutely amazing. And it was all because you stood up, you went to this manager, and you said, "Hey, I want to learn how this works." You asked questions, you did everything you could in your favor. It's not luck, it's work. You did that, right? And now Lumbre Grill coming up, it's all right here.
Yeah.
It's all right
It's true,
here.
man. I mean, leadership is never given, it's taken. And you could clearly see that Ricky has, enrolled that position of being a leader. And it goes back to our first conversation that we've ever had, right? It's like you're after skills, you're not after money. Because this is a perfect example. Every single one of us in this call took a pay cut for a skill set, right? We've all done that. Alain, I know you did it. I did it when I moved from a server to in corporate and sales. It was all part of the skill set learning process for a different arena. And I think that that's what people are not willing to do. Now you look at it, how many people could work at a 7-Eleven? Anyone and everyone. They could be easily replaced, and that's why the pay is very low. But now you look at a restaurant owner, well, now they're going to make a lot more money than a 7-Eleven worker. Why? Because their skill set is not as easily replaceable in the marketplace. So therefore, he has more value to add. So I think it is very huge what you said, bro. I think it's an amazing thing. Before I kick it over to Alan or Ricky, if you guys have any closing thoughts, I know we're gonna do a part two after the grand opening or even before. You have such a great mentality. You're such a great person. I've had the blessing and honor to be called. Obviously, we're family, but just being close to you, learning from you, picking your brain, just studying you. You're somebody and deserving of so much what you have and so much more. So I just want to thank you so much for taking the time, carving your busy schedule to sit down and share some of that mindset and mentality with us. But if you could talk about where your restaurant is, the location of your restaurant, where they can find you on Instagram. Just plug your stuff in, plug your socials, everything that you want to kind of accomplish. And I think everybody should stop the video right now, head over to wherever you tell them to go, and just show so much love because it is so deserving, bro. You're truly an inspiration. So I really appreciate you.
Yeah, so we're located at 626 US Highway 1, in case anyone wants a sub. 626 US Highway 1 South B Row. But I think closing statements. I I talk to a lot of people who want to do something and they everyone, I truly believe that everyone has like a dream and everyone has a goal. And I think everyone does have a purpose in life. And I genuinely believe that instead of, I guess, procrastinating or, being afraid to do what I think they need to do to actually achieve their dream or their goals. I genuinely believe that you just have to do it. Life is so short. And especially if you're like around our age, I think right now is the time to develop the skills and, for or what's necessary to actually follow your dreams. But I genuinely believe that you have to take action right now, right? If you want to do something, um, I genuinely believe that you just have to take action and do the steps that are required to get there. And that might be having to do these steps after your 9 to 5 or after your main job to keep up with the bills, because I do understand real life you have bills, right? You have to pay them. But I genuinely believe that if you want to do something, you want to make it happen, you have to put the time in and the work in to achieve your dream or your goal, and you genuinely have to do it and don't care about what anyone says. Like, everyone's gonna judge you no matter what you do, so you might as well just do whatever you like, to be honest. So I hope that this inspires at least one person to achieve their dreams, achieve their goals, and kind of just go for what they want to do in this life.
I'm confident of that, Ricky. You've already inspired me. Shoot,
Right. Mission accomplished,
I want
man.
to bring the camera over to Lumbre on the grand opening and start interviewing. Man, legend. No, it's
Might have to
amazing,
be
though.
it.
Thank you so much for your time. It's been an absolutely amazing conversation. What better way to start the morning having this fired up? Thank you for sharing everything with us, and definitely, man, you're definitely leaving, and you're definitely an inspiration around our area. Um, just seeing a young gentleman being able to manage, Subway and taking the step out of their own way to do that. So I think that's huge, and
A young Hispanic Mexican gentleman
yep, that's right.
representing Mexico.
Oh,
The
Thank you
only
so
way
much for
we
being a great representation.
way we can make changes in our within our Mexican culture is just taking the next step and just making the change happen, right? You're leaving that behind, and I think that's amazing. So, um, anyways, my final thoughts, very grateful, very blessed to God to be able to be here. Very, very thankful for Ricky to be able to join us. I had an amazing conversation. So,
Yeah, I don't know if you dropped your Instagram. Did you, Ricky, or just your location?
the Instagram is lumbre.southvero is a Lumbre Instagram. Subway.southvero is the Subway one. And then my personal is Ricardo Gamez Jr., just my name all together.
Awesome. Y'all head there. Appreciate you. Appreciate your time, Ricky. Have a great rest of your day, boys.
Hey, thank you
All
guys.
right.